All right. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. A lot of Ohio people here, but we've also got a lot of people from other states, and that is fine. Actually, here's a really good opening question. Just in case this is one of your first sessions with me, you got all kinds of ways to participate. And again, we're here so that you can walk away with stuff free. Okay. And that's going to be particularly important for today. So we're going to look at substance abuse policies for Ohio, but also other states. Now, you can always chat me up. And I'm going to be looking back and forth because I run multiple screens here because I like to focus on what's going on here. But then over here to my right, I'm going to look over every so often and I'm going to check the chat. All right, so let's check the chat first. How many people do business in multiple states? Okay, not too many. All right. Another way to participate is to get up, Senta, there you go. Okay. I'm in multiple states, so I should react, right? So everybody who is in multiple states, give it a thumbs up or something like that, like Senta did. All right. Or you can open your, oh, look at all the thumbs now. Yep, 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 yep. So we're going to look at what it means in Ohio. But right now, over 26 states, or about 26 states, you've got either medical marijuana or you've got recreational marijuana. Okay, so, I'll tell you, I've got a multi-state version that I work from because it's, unless you're a public employer, it's very difficult to find somebody who operates in only one state. Okay, so we're going to look at what is happening in Ohio, but also what's happening in multiple states. And welcome to the California people here and the Oregon people. I'm making a lot of nice contacts across the country. You are absolutely welcome every time, but this is more breakfast with Scott, isn't it? So hopefully you got your bagel or your donut or whatever it is you do for breakfast, okay? And of course, you can always open your mic. I like talking to people. I talk a lot, obviously, but anybody here, can you open your mic and tell everybody that it does work and you can talk and chat at any time?
It's alive.
It's alive.
Hi,
There you
Scott.
go. Hi, good morning. Good. Well, I'm sorry. Good afternoon. I'm still on, like 11 o'clock time. So good
Oh,
afternoon,
same
everybody.
here.
Oh, there you go, Valerie. Fantastic. Isn't that nice? It's almost like we're together, like I can, reach out and touch you and we're together. So, and the one thing that I have discovered since COVID is I'll bet you about 70% of all of my training is virtual. Absolutely. I got a whole string of gas stations. And they don't like the term stop and rob, but you know what I mean, those little convenience stations and things like this. And I got a client with about 100 of them. Well, guess what? You're not going to bring everybody together, are you? Okay, so substance abuse. Okay, this is a hot, 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 hot topic. Now, just a little reminder, we have, this year is just, how many people think, here's another good poll question, chat me up, open your mic, give me a thumbs up. How many people think that the world in employment law has gone absolutely nuts? I'm going to give you my thumbs up here. There is no doubt about that one. Yeah, Addie, I like the laughing. Yeah, Valerie, Phyllis. Oh, welcome, Phyllis. Glad you got the link. Absolutely great to everybody here. Megan. Oh, just fantastic. Yeah, it has. I have been doing legal update, and you just got to understand, I'm an employment law nerd. Just absolutely, and I pride myself on that. I actually like, shows what kind of life I got. I actually like sitting down and reading these cases. These are really, really interesting, okay, to me. How employment law could ever be boring. Okay, let me tell you. Well, we've got a lot of updates, as you will see today, on substance abuse, and in particular in Ohio. We have updates on Trump's DEI, diversity. And here is a big, big, big myth. President Trump's executive orders banned diversity programs. That is not true. That is not true. It gave you guidelines. And rather than actually read the executive orders, which I will give you is really boring, there are ways to put that together so that you can have diversity programs. Okay, and understand, look across all of the beautiful faces we got here, all the different names and everything. We have a very diverse group. If nothing else, we got men and women. And I'll bet you we got Democrats and Republicans. And I'll bet you we got Christians and atheists. And I'll bet you we got people who disagree on abortion. Okay, there you go. So we're going to have an update on that. We have new Supreme Court rulings on what constitutes discrimination. And I'll tell you, I got a live session yesterday. It was just wonderful. I was down with the Lebanon City or the Chamber of Commerce, just fantastic people, and talking about how employment laws changed. So we are going to talk about how the United States Supreme Court has changed the standard for quote, quote, reverse discrimination, how the United States Supreme Court has changed what we mean by discrimination, and a lot more. So we've got a lot of stuff. It's going to be a half a day. It's not going to be a full day. It's going to be a half a day, and you can sign up on my website under the seminars and webinars. But I will tell you right now, I've never done a mid-year update before. Never in my life. Never. I've been doing legal update. Oh my God. 31 years. Whoa, that makes me sound old. 1994. Yeah, my first legal update, I was still in law school. Okay, so I'll tell you right now, I've never done a mid-year before, but boy, oh boy, we got a full half day to talk about now. And this is public sector, private sector, every state in the union. If you haven't signed up, and if you sign up and you miss it, you still get the recording. Okay, so just a little plug there. That's me, and I am getting more and more proud of the fact that I am the brain guy. Now, I got 3 books out. I actually have 4 of them listed there, but Living the 5 Skills of Tolerance is the name of the revised book. Well, actually, the only thing that's revised is I published my book, Tolerance and Diversity for White Guys and Other Human Beings, which people who know me know I'm a smart ass. But I thought it was funny. This little poll here right now. How many people think that title is just kind of funny? Tolerance and Diversity for White Guys and Other Human Beings. Anybody see the humor in that? I did. Okay, Addie does, Jim does, Pat does. There we go. Got all my people out there. Valerie again, Kathy, Pat, oh, LaTanya, oh, Melanie. I got death threats. Yeah, I still get death threats every month and a half, 2 months, still get. They're slowing down, but I still get them. Okay. I thought white guys should be included. So a little pre-announcement here, I think I'm really proud of. I changed the title to Living the 5 Skills of Tolerance. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, that's really good. Oh, that's wonderful. I just changed the title. That's all I did was just change the title. Everything's the same. Okay. Coming out in August with Tolerance and Diversity for White Guys and Other Human Beings, Living the 5 Skills of Tolerance on audio. So you don't even have to read. You sit back and you and I will talk for a few hours. Okay, now I made healing the human brain bigger. Why? Because that's going to be the focus for today. I am very proud. I am so excited about brain health and keeping a healthy brain because you need a healthy brain. Believe me, you need a healthy brain. And you have people working for you who do not have healthy brains. And let me just cut to the chase here real quick. You got people who are abusing drugs, alcohol. They do not have a healthy brain. And we call those people trolls. Those are problem people, and they will drive you nuts. Okay, so I actually am one of the few, I'm a certified brain health professional with the Amen Clinics. And if you're not familiar with the Amen Clinics, they are the world's largest provider of nuclear SPECT scans. And I'm going to show you some SPECT scans today as to what drugs and alcohol does to your brain. Yeah. Now, I am not a certified substance abuse counselor. I am not. I am a brain health professional. And I'll tell you, I just absolutely adore working with the substance abuse people over at the Bureau of Workers' Comp. I was just approved on Wednesday. See how fresh this is. I was approved on Wednesday to be one of their preferred providers, one of their preferred vendors for substance abuse policy development and training. Now, just to let you know, I'm not a substance abuse counselor. Why was I approved to do training? Because of what it does to your brain, and I'm a lawyer. So I'll tell you, we're going to look a lot at what it does to your brain. And let me just, hey, hang on to your butts. Everybody just take a little grab, hang on to your butt. I am going to scare the bejeebies out of you. I am going to do that, okay? The reason being is because that's how you get buy-in from your people. All right, so a little heads up there. Okay, now this is not just true for Ohio. This is true for a lot of your states. So when we draft your policy, we want to make sure what states you're in and that it's compliant. And if you are in a state like Colorado, well, good question right there. Is anybody here in Colorado or California? Is anybody unfortunate enough? Okay, my California people, I know you're here. I know you're there because I can see your name. You're just not going to raise your hand because you're embarrassed that you're in California. Okay, you're going to have to make some special provisions for California. You're going to have to make some special provisions for Colorado. But in Ohio, as of Pearl Harbor Day, 2023, recreational marijuana is legal. Okay, so if somebody wants to go down to the dispensary and is just out of curiosity, is anybody here in Licking County? I'm from Newark, Ohio, Newark-a-High, okay, in Licking County. You ever seen the logo for us? That's pretty cool, Rolling Stones. Anybody here in Licking County? Got any of my Licking County people here today? Okay, I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing, but Licking County, Newark, Ohio, has more pot dispensaries than any other county in the state. So if you are having trouble finding your pot, just go to Licking County. You can't sling a dead cat without hitting one. Okay, so guess what? Your people have every right to not be arrested. Not be arrested because they're using recreational pot. And I have gone down to a dispensary to see what it is. I thought that it'd be like going to Walmart. You know, it'd be like going to Walmart. You would go down there and you would get a cart or you'd get a little basket and you go pick all the pot that you wanted off the shelf. That's how I thought it worked. No, it doesn't work that way. They look at your ID, they make sure you're over 21, and I'm almost 65 years old, and it was very flattering. They carded me, which sort of made my day. Okay. And that you go in there and you talk to a marijuana specialist. Okay, I don't know where you go to school, but these people know their stuff. And I will tell you, I don't care what your personal morals are or anything. You live in, if you're in one of those 26 states where either medical marijuana or recreational pot is legal, you have absolutely got to look into this topic and go down there and see what is happening, because your people are going. I promise you, you've got people who are using recreational marijuana. Okay, very, very interesting. Okay, now we've had medical marijuana since 2016. So I want you to understand the difference here. Okay, anyone who is 21 years or older and can fog a mirror can legally get pot in Ohio. Okay? That's just the way it is. You just go down, you get it. But you can also get medical marijuana. Now, what's the difference? Well, first of all, I have discovered first time, and I've tested all this stuff, medical marijuana people get to go to the front of the line. Because I guess it's a, you know, like it's a pot emergency. It's like, oh, we got to get this guy some weed like real quick. Okay, so, you know, you are medical marijuana. And what do you have to do to get marijuana? Now, I have done this. I have done this. I have my medical marijuana card just so I could know exactly how the thing is done. So I signed up and I had to pay them $75. I think that's what it's really all about. So I paid my $75 and then I got a call back the next day at a certain time from a doctor who is somewhere, okay, in this world. And she asked me some questions, and all I had to do to get medical marijuana is say that I'm in a lot of pain and I get migraines. That's it. I didn't have to have a doctor's diagnosis. I told her that, and they emailed me a card that I can carry on my phone, that I can put in my wallet. And guess what? If I go back to a dispensary, I can go right up to the front of the line, give them my medical marijuana card, and I can get medical marijuana. Okay, so I get to go to the head of the line. And what else happens? This is something for you to consider. Okay? Now, recreational marijuana. Okay, does anyone here allow your people to use medical marijuana? I'll give it a thumbs up because I got some people who do. Anybody else allow medical marijuana or recreational marijuana? Okay, cut to the chase. That's your choice. The law's not going to tell you. Understand what recreational marijuana says. We're not going to arrest you. You could go up and pop some gummy bears right in front of a cop. You could even offer some to the cop, and they can't arrest you. Medical marijuana, the same thing. Now, I do have clients who are allowing medical marijuana, but man, I'll tell you, we have talked a lot about that. We personalize that in the program, and you need to be thinking about that, because what if you have a secretary who has developed brain cancer? What if you have a clerk who's developed brain cancer or something? Okay, that's something to think about, that under certain situations you might allow medical marijuana. And medical marijuana is sort of the thing across this country. Okay, so we're going to group medical marijuana and recreational marijuana together because a lot of states offer both of that, and Ohio is one of those states. Okay, so you don't have to permit employee use. If you say, no, you can't use medical marijuana and you can't use recreational marijuana, that's it. You are allowed to terminate or discipline or refuse an applicant a job if they're using medical marijuana or if they're using recreational marijuana. Okay? You are allowed to have a zero tolerance drug testing policy or a drug-free workplace policy. You can still get your workers' compensation discounts and rebates to participate in the drug-free workplace program, which is another program than the program we're going to talk about today. So you kind of see, this is entirely in your power. Whatever you want to do. If you fire somebody for medical or recreational marijuana for the purposes of unemployment compensation, that is a valid reason for firing somebody. So you kind of see the law basically takes away the criminal activity. The criminal activity. It does not take away what your right is as an employer. Now, a little heads up here. I highly, highly, highly recommend that in your policy that we address how the company's going to treat this stuff. Okay, I have some clients that say that we do not allow recreational marijuana or medical marijuana, period. Okay, and my wife works at a hospital, and that is exactly what they say, which certainly makes a lot of sense. Okay, but I've got others that say, no, you cannot use recreational marijuana, but if you have a situation for medical marijuana, we will deal with that on a case-by-case basis. You see, you gotta let your employees know. What is your culture? And anybody who's listened to me across the last year or so, I'll tell you right now, culture, 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 culture. I got clients that say, yeah, you want to use recreational marijuana? We need to know, and we need to, you need written permission to do that. And the same thing for medical marijuana. So the world is your oyster. And that is true in a lot of states. Okay, so let's say that you are down in the tri-state area, which I see some of you located down in. When I say tri-state area, I'm talking Cincinnati. So you got Indiana, Kentucky, all right, and Ohio. Okay, those laws are different. All right. An employee is not entitled to receive workers' compensation if you are under the influence of marijuana and you have an accident. Okay. Now, how do you know it was the proximate cause? Because the cutoff level for marijuana is 50 nanograms. Okay, now understand, let's do a little bit here with alcohol and drug testing so we're on the same page. Drug testing is not a medical test. It's a drug test. It's its own category. Okay, because you're not testing for active use. And this is one of those big debates about drug testing. When you use drugs, okay, the drug is going to get out of your system. And the advice that I get from my medical marijuana specialist, I learned a lot from these people down there, is if you take a gummy bear, and understand, I want you to understand too, the difference between smoking a joint and taking some of the gummies or some of this type of stuff. Okay, if you smoke a joint, that is about 100 milligrams of marijuana. That's a lot. If you take a gummy bear, that's 5 to maybe 10 milligrams. So you see the difference? There's a huge difference. All right. So if you got people taking 5 to 10 milligrams of a gummy bear or a piece of chocolate, you will never know. Okay. But if you got somebody who has smoked a joint, they kind of start talking like this, man. They kind of start acting different. Well, first of all, you do not want that person driving a forklift. You do not want that person driving a car, which, by the way, driving a car throughout the day is the most dangerous thing you can do for workplace accidents. Okay, and I'll show you why here, because it destroys your frontal lobes. Okay, so you understand, you got a lot of decisions to make, and whatever you want to do, it's up to you. It's up to you. Now, let me give you an oldie but a goodie. Okay, it's kind of funny. Michigan has had medical marijuana for years. They were one of the first ones. So Mr. Casillas is a really tragic story. I mean, first of all, Mr. Casillas has brain cancer, and you don't envy anybody. You pity somebody with something like that. That's just a horrible, horrible condition. And he works at Walmart. Okay, so the guy's got it really rough. Well, his doctor prescribed medical marijuana for this guy. And you can certainly see why. The guy's got brain cancer. Walmart caught Mr. Casillas using drugs due to a random test. Okay. Now, they fired him. They fired him. Now, here's one of the big things that I'm leading into. Was it active use? Was it active use? Well, the cutoff for medical or for marijuana is 50 nanograms. Now, let's say that Mr. Casillas tests positive at 50 nanograms of marijuana. Chances are really good that was not active use. What is active use? Oh, I've tested people for marijuana, and they had a joint at lunch, tested them in the afternoon, 500 nanograms. Okay, so you are 10 times the cutoff level. Believe me, that's active use. Otherwise, what could Mr. Casillas be testing at? Let's say he tested at 50 or 100 nanograms. Well, that could have been the pot he smoked over the weekend, okay? And so you're testing for the residue that's in his blood, which could be around for a week or so. Or maybe if he's smoking every evening or something like this, then maybe it's going to stick around for 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, so you don't know if it's active use or not. And that's another discussion to look at when you're putting your policy together, is if you are going to allow medical marijuana or recreational marijuana, then you might want to take a serious look at not testing at 50 nanograms. You might want to cut it off at 100. Okay? Because you're looking for active use, not casual use from the weekend. Okay, that's up to you. They fired Mr. Casillas. He sued, went all the way to our 6th Circuit Court of Appeals. Our 6th Circuit Court of Appeals said Walmart can fire him. Walmart can fire him. and that's Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Michigan. And that is true with most of the circuits. That is not true in Colorado, by the way. Okay, so what's the moral of the story? The courts are behind you. They've been that way for decades in most of these circuits. And if you decide not to allow this, you're golden. The only thing medical or recreational marijuana does for you is it keeps you out of jail. Okay, now, for those of you who do business in Ohio, this is your lucky day. Super program. What's the super program? Substance use prevention and recovery. Yes, they purposely made it sound like Superman. Super program. Well, what's that? It went effective July 1st. What's it mean? Employers, you can get up to $5,000 each year. That's $5,000 each year to develop your policy and program for substance abuse. And I will tell you, my policy for substance abuse is 35 pages long. None of my clients have a 35-page program. Well, why is it so long? Because, well, how many of you out there have employees covered by Department of Transportation? Maybe they're drivers or something. You got anybody out there like that? I got a lot of clients like that. Okay, yeah, getting some folks. Okay, yeah, so you got to consider those folks. And I'll tell you, I'm going to show you here in a little bit. Oh, substance abuse. And I'm not talking the little gummy bears. I'm talking smoking a 100-milligram joint or heroin. Or, oh, I tell you right now, heroin is making a big surge in Ohio. And decent people don't necessarily know this stuff and don't hang around this kind of stuff. But I will tell you right now, heroin, opiates, prescription drugs, the biggest suppliers of substance abuse in the state of Ohio and in the country are doctors. So you've got to look at all these things, which we're going to look at today, what should be in your policies. Training. You got to train your employees to understand substance abuse and what's in your policy. The days of throwing a policy at somebody and say, here, sign that, are gone. Did you effectively communicate this? You got to train your supervisors and managers. If you're going to have reasonable suspicion post-accident, if you're going to have these types of things where your managers are supposed to make calls, you better have the proper form for them to complete, and you better make sure they've been trained. Okay, so those are the big points here. Now, let me just ask a question. How many people like free? How many people like free? How many people like the idea that you're going to be reimbursed up to $5,000 for all your training, for all of your program? Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. This is a no-brainer. Okay? This is a no-brainer. And I will tell you, for those of you who are consultants out there, give me a call because I've got some consultants. Actually, I'm already booked through July to do these programs and do this training, and none of them are my clients. I've got calls from consultants who say, look, we're not approved to do the training. Can you do it? And I said, yeah, because they heard me speak on some other things. And I will tell you right now, who in the hell doesn't want free? And I'll tell you, when the government's going to pay for it, that's great. Okay. Now, what should be in your policy? Well, first of all, you want to use the cutoff levels under the Department of Health and Human Services. The cutoff levels for the state of Ohio are outdated. They're outdated. The technology has gotten so much better across the last 10 years that the cutoff levels from the Department of Health and Human Services, from the feds, is what you want to use. And that's what I keep referring to. The cutoff level for the Department of Health and Human Services for marijuana is 50 milligrams or nanograms, 50 nanograms. Some of these tests out there do not even include heroin. Well, it used to be that we couldn't test for heroin. We can now. And that should be in your program. You got to let employees know. You don't just stick something in place and make employees feel like they've been strong-armed. You want them to know that you're doing this for their benefit. Okay, now, what types of testing should you use? There's all kinds of testing. There's all kinds of testing. First and foremost, there is pre-employment testing, which a lot of people use. That's fantastic. Pre-employment testing. Okay. Pre-employment testing is great if you're going to do it. Now, let me say that again. It is great if you're going to do it. But I'll tell you right now, I do not want to hear that someone says, oh, yeah, but it's just pot. He tests positive for pot. Come on, Joe's a good guy. Let's just hire him anyway. No. Look, one of two things. If you're just going to say, oh, it's just pot, then take marijuana off of your testing, right? You choose what drugs and everything you're going to test for. Oh, I was going to mention, yeah, I forgot. Drug testing is not a medical test. So how many people have ever heard that if you're going to give a drug test to somebody, it's got to be post-offer. You have to make somebody an offer of employment based on the drug test. How many people have heard that? Yep, getting some, yeah. Okay, that's not true. That's somebody who doesn't know the law. Drug testing is not a medical test. The Americans with Disabilities Act says that you cannot give a medical test, which would be like a physical, which would be an alcohol test. An alcohol test tests for alcohol in your system right now. That's what you're testing for. Okay, so that's a medical test. And as soon as you sober up and the alcohol leaves your system, there's no residue that's left. So if you're going to give somebody an alcohol pre-employment test, yes, it has to be post-offer. Drug tests, you can do them anytime you want, whenever you feel like it. Okay? Now, understand too, if you have a pre-employment alcohol test and somebody fails that, never hire that person because they're stupid. I mean, they just failed the stupid test. Okay, what's it mean? It means they went and had a drink, right? They went and got all liquored up, and then they went and took their alcohol test. That's like getting stopped at a sobriety checkpoint, cracking open a beer, and going up to the sobriety checkpoint. Well, you're an idiot. Okay, so yeah, pre-employment alcohol testing is kind of fun because if you catch them, well, that person is just too stupid to hire. Okay, is everybody with me? Everybody's like, well, of course we do pre-employment testing. Make sure you're going to do it. Make sure you're going to do it. If you're not going to do it, if you're going to say, oh, it's just pot, then take marijuana off that list. I've never heard somebody say, oh, it's just heroin. Okay, well, I've never heard that. Okay, I put reasonable suspicion in red. And here's why. I have never seen I've never seen an employer who didn't want to test somebody who looked funny. Now, here's where the legal pitfalls really come into play. Okay, so what do we mean? Reasonable suspicion. Okay, well, there's all kinds of legal pitfalls here. First and foremost, this is the form that I use. Okay, it is from the Ohio Industrial Commission, so it's, got authoritative weight. And I've edited it some to comply with Ohio law and some of the other laws. Now understand, it is not absolute suspicion. It's reasonable suspicion. So I've got allergies. Let's say, and my eyes are bloodshot, they're watery, they're I close them, I keep scratching them. Well, look at this checklist here. My face might be flushed. It's like you come up to me and say, Scott, you're looking a little funny today. I think we need to do a test on you, drug and alcohol. And I say, no, it's just my allergies. It's just, no. Your eyes are bloodshot, they're watery, they're glassy, you look so, flushed. And I'm like, it's just my allergies. And then your response would be, well, we'll know in 20 minutes. If you legally want to test that person, you can't. You can't. And sometimes it really is allergies. Sometimes it really is something else. Okay. But there's a couple things here. One is, and this was a big part of my talk down in Lebanon yesterday, documentation is anything that's written down and delivered to the employees. Let me say that again. It's like with written warnings or verbal warnings. Did you give somebody, did you talk to them? So documentation is anything that is written down and delivered to the employee. You got to have both, or it's not proof. You could get that thrown out. So you have somebody, you give them a verbal warning. Okay, guess what? I always follow up with an email. Hey, I thought our meeting went well. Here's what we talked about. Here's what we all agreed to. Now it's been delivered to the employee and we talked about it. Now it's documentation. Okay, it astonishes me. People who have substance abuse policies in place, someone says, hey, you know, I think you're acting a little erratic. I think you're you know, a little woozy or something here. We need to take you for a drug and alcohol test. And then off they go. Well, first of all, you are licking the outlet, pal. You are asking for it. Okay, because why? First of all, how is it documented? How's it documented? Okay, and what did you check off this list? That's the first thing. It's got to be written down and it's got to be delivered to the employee. So I give them a copy of this and you can put, I mean, look what's on here, chewing gum. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But what if you're chomping gum and you got half a mouthful of it? Okay, actions, you're hostile, you're erratic. A pattern of missing work. Oh, I'll tell you right now, the reasonable suspicion has saved my clients on the FMLA several times, the Friday, Monday Leave Act. Yes, a pattern of missing Fridays and Mondays is reasonable suspicion. And guess what? It's amazing how many times I will run into people who actually were using drugs. Okay, so that's the first thing. You absolutely have to have something to document what you are saying. Second, was that supervisor trained? Were they trained? Otherwise, you've got someone who doesn't like this guy over here, and now I'm going to have him go for a drug test. I'll tell you right now, you're going to have a drug testing policy, then do it so it's legal. And do it so that it is protecting your employees, okay? And what is legal? Your supervisors, anybody who's going to send somebody for a drug test, absolutely, positively, 100% has to be trained. If not, oh, you are just flirting with a lawsuit. And understand, it's not so much that you win a lawsuit, it's you know, your employment litigators, the average cost of an employment litigator in Columbus, Ohio is somewhere between $500 and $600 an hour. Some are $800 an hour. Okay. I'm dealing with a plaintiff's or with an attorney right now who ironically is in the Trump Tower in Washington or in New York, who's billing $1,600 an hour. Okay. No, I want this nailed down. And another thing that I talk to my clients about is, okay, I just suspect somebody is maybe using drugs and alcohol. I don't want to take an hour or an hour and a half to send them down, get the test. Oh, and by the way, if you have somebody for reasonable suspicion, you never put them in the car. You don't put them in an Uber, okay, where somebody could take them off someplace and rob them. Someone's got to get in the car and take this person to get tested. So what I like to do is why don't you come sit in the office and suck on this sucker for a little bit. Those suckers are actually pretty good. Now, that is not the test. It's not a legal test. It's not an enforceable test. But why do I like to use the suckers? Because if somebody gets a positive and it has a larger false positive, and if you ever study this topic, the larger the false positive, the smaller the false negative. They're inverse relationships. So it has a high false positive. If you test positive, then you're going for the real test. And that's when the chain of custody starts. You do not leave my site. And why do I do that? Because there are all kinds of things out there. Okay, Anybody here, would you like to just sit around and watch TV and that is how you make a living? Would anybody like that? They just hang around the house and, drink water and that's your livelihood. There are people who do that. And what do? They pee. Yeah, they pee. That's what they do. They sell their pee. They sell their urine. I don't know if you knew this. Most decent people don't. But clean urine's worth a lot of money. And you can sell your urine. And you can sell it to companies who will sell it to drug users. And they can fill it in a pouch that is warmed by their body. So it comes out a little closer to regular body temperature. And according to LabCorp and Quest, they can't tell the difference between real urine and synthetic urine. So guess what? The chain of custody starts now, and somebody says, well, I have to go to the bathroom. Well, then this is your lucky day, because we're going to need that in a minute. And don't want to offend anybody here, but if you do want to see what all is happening, you do know that they make urine packets with false penises. Yeah, believe it or not, they do. So in case you are doing observed, which observed is perfectly legal in the state of Ohio. And why would you do that? Because there's so many ways to fake a drug test. Okay, is everybody with me? Okay, so heads up there. If you're going to have reasonable suspicion, and I've never seen an employer who didn't want it, you better make sure that you list all those things. And my policy on reasonable suspicion, it lists all the things. It goes on for 2 pages. I mean, look at this list. What's in the policy goes on for 2 pages. Why? To nail this stuff down, because I'm taking away all of the arguments that plaintiffs' attorneys might have. All right? You got to train your supervisors, and they got to know how to use this form. Okay, so reasonable suspicion. One of the things we're going to talk about at our legal update next week, post-accident, and I did this at the earlier part of this year, the Trump administration has revised the OSHA requirements. It used to be that you had to have post-accident with reasonable suspicion. You couldn't have just post-accident, because that was considered to be, that was from the Obama administration, that was considered to be retaliatory. Well, now, guess what? Post-accident drug testing is okay again. It's okay again. That's going to be in our legal update, but I'm telling you about it now. So if you have someone who is in an accident, like I'm a perfect example, I got a chip out of my skull because I was working at a Kaiser Aluminum, and the guy in front of me, he worked 8 to 4. I worked 4 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight. I came on my shift at 4 o'clock, and his nickname was Pothead Larry. Now, if there's ever somebody that you wanted to test for drugs, it's Pothead Larry. Ergo, the name. Okay, well, Pothead Larry didn't secure the machine correctly. I cut a coil coming onto the shift off a big spool. He didn't secure it properly. It broke, came up, and took a chip out of my skull. And if I didn't have my safety glasses on, I'd have lost my right eye. Okay, so who should have been tested? I should have been tested because I was the one in the accident. Pothead Larry should have been tested too because he didn't set up the machine correctly. So post-accident, I'll tell you right now, every CEO I've ever seen wants post-accident. Why? Because if Pothead Larry would test at 300 nanograms of pot, well, you've got a really good argument that that was active use. Okay? Random. If you like the idea of random, do random. But again, I don't want to hear somebody say, oh, yeah, but we caught Larry and we like Larry and it's just cocaine. No. You're going to catch people who you don't want to catch. But you see why I put in red reasonable suspicion and post-accident. I've never seen employers who didn't want those. Follow-up testing. Well, I tell you right now, you catch somebody, and I've got clients that you catch somebody using drugs, you don't fire them. They have to go and follow whatever assessment there is, whatever rehab is suggested. But then you put them on a last chance agreement. And for my clients, I give them this last chance agreement as well. Somebody that you've caught using drugs, you didn't fire them, you have them come back, guess what? Here is your last chance agreement. You are going to follow this schedule for getting tested. Boom, 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 boom. And if they don't sign it, they don't come back. How about when you promote somebody or transfer them? Maybe you've got somebody who is like at Walmart, and they're walking around, they're just, helping client or, customers and things. But now you promote them to the warehouse where they're going to be climbing 20, 30 feet in the air. You might want to test that person. Are you transferring somebody into a safety sensitive position? Well, maybe so. I've got other clients that, hey, I got certain positions like forklifts or whatever, or, something real sensitive position that I'm going to test them once or twice a year. Safety sensitive. Well, I got guys that actually climb up water towers. That's 200 feet in the air. Oh, you've never seen anything grisly until you've seen somebody fall from 100, 150 feet in the air. Guess what? You're getting checked twice a year. You are not using any gummy bears or nothing up there. All right, and here's a good one. Has anybody run into where you send maybe some of your people into a customer site that you have to follow their requirements, that, hey, now your employees are going into another building or another customer, you have to follow their policy. Well, if you're going to require that, you better have that in your policy, and any type of follow-up testing. So you kind of see there's all kinds of decisions that you got to make. Now, here's one you are going to run into by the end of the year: the use of legal drugs. Okay. Now, first of all, the use of legal drugs is an ongoing problem. Okay. Actually, again, more drug pushers are doctors than anything else. Okay. And I will tell you right now, I have firsthand expertise in this. When I was growing up, my mother was addicted to prescription drugs throughout my whole childhood and up through 1983 when I graduated college. I know drug abuse. I've seen it firsthand. I've lived with it. And I will tell you, today, doctors still get kickbacks for prescribing certain prescription drugs, usually painkillers, because there's a high markup. Okay, so this is a real problem. So you want in your policy that if anyone is taking any type of drugs that could affect their ability to do their job, they have to let you know. Because if I got a secretary taking Vicodin, okay, that's all right. But what if you got somebody who is working maintenance? I don't think you want them taking Vicodin. Okay, so the use of illegal drugs, your body doesn't know the difference between a drug that you got at the corner of 5th and Main and the one that you got at Walgreens. So I'll tell you right now, you want something in there for what you want for the use of legal drugs. Odor of alcohol. This is one of my favorites. Odor of alcohol. I had a dental assistant or a dental hygienist years ago who was a raging alcoholic, I guess. But she always came to work sober. But she smelled like alcohol. Okay, how many people have ever been to the dentist? Just had your teeth cleaned by a dentist. Anybody ever do that? I hope that's most everybody here, because that's kind of a good habit to get into. There we go. Okay, all of our hygienic people here. Wonderful. Okay. Think about it. They get all these little Nazi tools, and they're going to dig into your gums. Are you going to be a little apprehensive if the hygienist smells like alcohol? Well, I think I'm going to find a new dentist. Okay. I always hear people say, oh, well, I would send them to be tested. No, she's testing negative. You still cannot come to work smelling like booze. It's that simple. That is an offense in and of itself. So you kind of see a comprehensive substance abuse policy. And understand, how did I get all this stuff? Because I've been doing it for 40 years. Okay. And all these things are things I've run into. All right. If you have anyone who gets in trouble with the law, I need to know within 24 or 48 hours. Any type of drug activity, anything, you need to let me know. And if you don't let me know, that's a terminable offense. Why? Because I need to keep drugs and alcohol out. And of course, as most of you know, you want something in there about tampering with a specimen or failing to provide a sample. Okay. You always hear this. Well, I couldn't pee. Let me get this straight. You sat there for 2.5 hours, drank a gallon of water, and you didn't have to pee. Well, you're not human. You're not human. Because I think they probably exploded when they got in the car. No, you got to provide a sample. And unless there's a medical condition with you, which I've never had anybody produce, no. And you got to list your disciplinary provisions. You want all of those in there. So why? Because you want people to know what you're dealing with here. That, hey, if you get caught for drugs, this is what's going to happen to you. And you want something in your policy about searches. About, I'm not going to do a body cavity search. I ain't doing that. Okay, but do I want to look in their desk? Do I want to look in their purse? Do I want to look in their briefcase? Yes. And I'll tell you right now, I know drug addicts. I've lived with drug addicts. I grew up with a drug addict. And you right now, all of you, you've got functioning alcoholics, functioning drug addicts, and you would never know. Okay? But I'll tell you, the family knows. And we got a lot of enablers out there. They're going to hide it in their purse. I'll tell you right now, a drug addict is not going to want to go to their car. All right? But hey, what if you refuse to let me look through your purse? Okay, guess what? You're fired. This is serious stuff. And it's going to get more serious here in a minute. So if you want something in there about searches, you better put it in there. Other policy concerns that, there's a lot of stuff to look at, but I'll tell you, designing a substance abuse program is not just taking a policy off the internet and slapping it in there. You need to make this match with your culture. Okay, now let's get to the bigger issues. People deny they have a problem, and we've got enablers all around them. There are a lot of stumbling blocks to a drug-free workplace. Now, here's the biggest one, and here's our poster child for substance abuse. You ever hear somebody say, the drugs I do on my own time is my own business? Have you ever heard that one? Oh, yeah, we get that one a lot. Okay, well, I don't think so. Now, here is where my brain certification and my background come into real play. And this is why I got approved. And I think this is going to get to be the norm. But right now, it was funny because I talked to the BWC people and this was all news to them. Okay. Now, these are blood flow SPECT scans. A SPECT scan is a nuclear exam. It's not an MRI. An MRI looks inside your brain to see what kind of trauma you've suffered, like bleeds and clots and tears. This is actually blood flow. Okay, so you're laying down in the machine. The one on your left is nice blood flow looking down on the top of your brain. Okay, the one on the right is we're looking up at the underside of your chin and your base is at the bottom. Okay, so you kind of see, there's no holes. Now, think about this. How many people think that when you come to work, you should bring your brain with you? What do you think? I don't even give my hand up here. I think you should bring your brain with you. Okay. There you go. Look at what smoking marijuana does to your brain. It completely cuts off the blood flow to your brain. Now, if you look at the top there, those two big holes at the top of each of these scans, those are your frontal lobes. And I want you to think about this for workplace violence. Your frontal lobes, that's what you use to control yourself. The human animal is an emotional animal. And I will tell you right now, we use our frontal lobes to control our emotions. Okay, what are the chances this person's going to smack you? Very good. Very good. Substance abuse is inextricably tied to workplace violence. You cannot separate the two. Okay, so, and you don't want this guy working for you. This is going to be that problem child that's coming into your office all the time. I promise you. And these are young kids. That's an 18 and a 16-year-old kid. And so, and I'll tell you, I get people that perk right up and they're like, oh my God. There we go. Here's smoking marijuana. There's a 38-year-old guy. This looks like a dog chew toy, doesn't it? It looks like you could drop quarters through those holes. Now, those aren't really holes in the head, but that's dead tissue. Okay, you are not getting blood flow. It looks like this guy, these two guys, it looks like they've had about 10 strokes, which is really what they've had. Okay? And I can tell you right now, these people, they could be functioning drug users, and you just think that they're argumentative. You just think, no, you want to be testing. Now, let's get into the heavy stuff. Heroin, methadone. Look at those holes. And you wonder why substance abuse is a big deal. And I'll tell you, Ohio, we're in like the top 5 states in the country of abusing drugs. Why? Because the Sackett family with OxyContin targeted us. Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, we were the targets, and we got hit the hardest. And I'll tell you, man, you get people thinking, oh my God, my son is this like this. My husband is like this. There's methamphetamines and cocaine. See, people don't know that, hey, I did it on the weekend. No, this is what your brain is like. Now, the good news is your brain will rewire itself. It will fill those holes in. The brain and the liver are the only 2 organs that will actually rewire themselves. And here's alcohol. No, this is where the functioning alcoholics are causing you all kinds of problems. Now, what do you put in your program? Well, what do I do if I have a substance abuse problem? Well, which brain do you want? You come to us now, and here's the lawyer part coming out in me. You come to us now, and we will get you assessed. You are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. We will get you the help that you need. You want the brains on the left. You do not want the brains on the right. Should you turn in a coworker? Well, what brain do you want them to have? Being an enabler is not nice. It's not nice. You're evil. And you are protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act. You come forward now. Because understand, most drug users hurt somebody else. They don't hurt themselves. They hurt somebody else. Now, let me tie this right into workplace violence. Because workplace violence, absolutely, positively, and weapons need to be in your policy. Absolutely. Okay, opioids are the primary source of 162 fatalities and a contributor in an additional 144 fatalities where multiple drugs were used. That is from 2024. Oh, it's killing us. Okay, because your frontal lobes, that is where you make your decisions. But you see your emotional brain over here, your amygdalas, that moves at 17 thousandths of a second. So here, look at a stimulus comes in your brain at 17 thousandths of a second. These are the people who turn around and smack somebody and go, I don't know what came over me. Or act like total jackasses or trolls and say, well, I just don't know what came over me. Well, what came over you is your emotions are happening at 17 thousandths of a second. Look how long it takes that same stimulus to get to your frontal lobes. It's 2 or 3 times longer. Now, how much self-control do you think these people have? Oh, let me ask a good question. Do you want these people working for you? Actually, get the wrong one up there. No, how many people think, I don't want these people? Oh, no. All right. Can you see now why drug abuse is going to kill you? It's going to kill you. All right. So questions, comments, deep concerns. That is a real quick look at drug abuse and alcohol abuse, a comprehensive look is what you want at what's in your policy to set your culture. And oh my God, if you are an Ohio employer, and if you want to get the steps for how you can get this $5,000 or more information, shoot me an email. Shoot me an email, scott@scottwarwick.com, and tell me what you want to do. Okay? So you want to have a safe environment for all of your people. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And like I said, I'm working with a lot of different clients these days on this stuff, because who in the heck doesn't want free? Oh, and by the way, the state of Ohio is how can I print the certificate? Pat, shoot me. You mean you need a certificate for today, Pat? Shoot me an email if you need a certificate for today. That'll be fine. Yeah. Questions, comments, deep concerns over anything we talked about? Everybody got it? Oh, thank you, Rich. Thank you. I'll tell you, I think this is one of the greatest programs that Ohio's ever come out with. And I'll tell you, if I see an HR person out there that isn't looking at this to get it for their employer for free. Oh, and by the way, this is for public employers and private employers alike. Okay. And if you want to just talk about it, give me a call. But I'll tell you right now, right now the statistics in Ohio is there are 444,000 people who are addicted to prescription drugs in the state of Ohio that we know of. That's about 500,000 people, and there's only 11 or 12 million people in Ohio. These people are functioning drug addicts and alcoholics, just like my mom. And let me tell you, I know all the tricks. Absolutely. So, everybody with me? Okay, well, hey, if you want to hear more about this, shoot me an email. If you want the steps of getting reimbursed and getting this money from the state of Ohio, thank you for all the claps. I appreciate that. I love doing these. And our Lunch and Learns from now on, we're going to be looking at all kinds of different topics, legal topics. And if you have certain topics that you want to have addressed, this month just happened to be drug abuse. And it happened to be that because of this great program by the Bureau of Workers' Comp. And I will tell you right now, I could not be more impressed dealing with the workers' comp people on this. It has been an absolute delight. Absolute delight. So I'll tell you right now, you are doing your people a favor when you get them off these drugs. Because I'll tell you, motivation is a big deal, and most people have no idea what their relatives are doing to themselves and what they're doing to themselves. And so you can do a lot of good here. All right. Okay, well, hey, I'm always here if you want to give me a call, if you want to shoot me an email, and I will see you next month and hopefully see you next week when we're going to be talking about what the heck has happened just this year. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.